Hi, this is a video about setting up the Alternative Guide to Postgraduate Funding online at your university, and also explains how students can access it. Now, really the only thing that you need to worry about is this gateway URL, www.postgraduate-funding.com/gateway. Now this is the URL that all students, current and prospective, and staff members can use to access the Alternative Guide to Postgraduate Funding, whether they're on campus or off campus. We advise that you put this gateway URL on your public university web pages, your intranet, distribute it by email, and place it on literature. In order to get a better idea of how to set up the Alternative Guide online, I very much recommend that you read this leaflet, How to Set It Up, which will be included in your university welcome pack or is available from our website, or you can email us at inquiries@gradfunding.co.uk to request it directly, and we will email you the PDF. So this is what the gateway looks like. It's reached here at postgraduate-funding.com/gateway. Now the gateway is the one-stop shop for all user groups, whether they're current or prospective postgraduate students, staff members, and whether they're on campus or off campus. Now, I'll explain what all these options are. So the first one here is the blue box. This enables users to log straight on to the Alternative Guide to Postgraduate Funding online. Now the first is with username and password. Now this obviously works whether a user is on campus or off campus. Obviously the first time a user hits this screen, they're not going to have a username and password, and so I'll explain how they register for those in a minute. However, what they can do, even without a username and password, and if they're on campus, is log straight on with this button here, which logs you on automatically from campus in one click. And there we go, hey presto, here we are inside the Alternative Guide to Postgraduate Funding. This works via a process called IP mapping, where we basically map your university's IP address with publicly available information, which enables this to authenticate properly. So you don't need to do any work. Here we have then the green box, which is basically how you register for that personal username and password that enables you to log in. Now, there are two ways of doing this. One is for current students and one is for prospective students. Now, for current students, or indeed for staff, you use your university email address. Now that could be whatever. It would obviously end in a .ac.uk, so a kcl.ac.uk, cam.ac.uk, etc. Now I'm going to go and put in my own email address here, which in my case is for KCL. Type that into the box, and then I'm going to click Go. I've then got a successful message here, registration successful. What it has done there is check to see that the email address I have inputted is from a subscribing university, and in this case it's KCL, and then it sent an email to me. So I then check my email account, and I've got an email here from Grad Funding, which shows me the Alternative Guide to Postgraduate Funding login details. It isn't entirely impossible that this email might go into a spam folder, but it's pretty unlikely. So here we are. Here's my username and password. So I've got here my username, which is the same as my email, and then I've got my password, which is a not particularly memorable word, sync. So I'm now going to go back to the gateway, and I'm going to log straight on. So I'm going to use my username, which is the same as my email address. I'm going to copy and paste my password there in that box, and now I'm going to click Log On. And there we go, I am logged into the Alternative Guide to Postgraduate Funding online as my username there. Now this obviously, I can use these logon details whether I'm on campus or off campus or pretty much anywhere. This is probably the main way that we anticipate that students and staff members will be logging on. So the final group we need to consider are prospective students who naturally don't have a university email address yet. Now for these guides we use a special alternative guide PIN number, which is a 4-digit PIN that we will give to you, which is unique to your university. You can give this PIN number out to students via email, on literature, on the telephone. However, please don't print this on a public URL. This is necessary to prevent piracy. You can actually create an automated system whereby prospective students who are looking at your postgraduate funding pages where you're promoting the alternative guide can actually request this automatically if you want to go to town a little more. This is actually outlined on the How to Set It Up booklet on page 2, and I'll say a little more about this later. So the student inputs his or her PIN, let's say that's 6666, 4 sixes, and then puts in an email address. Now this doesn't have to be a university email address, obviously it can just be a generic Gmail address, Hotmail address or whatever, and then you can press go. There you see we get exactly the same message, registration successful. The student then simply checks that account, in this case a Gmail account, and they get a username and password, and they put those in this box here, and they're able to then log on in exactly the same way as for the university email account. So those are the 3 main ways that students can access the Alternative Guide to Postgraduate Funding online. Now, how you promote the Alternative Guide to Postgraduate Funding online at your university is obviously a matter of personal choice. But the most important thing is for you to place the link, which is of course postgraduate-funding.com/gateway, in a prominent place on your university web pages. This could be in the graduate school, research office, funding office, student support office, careers service, or indeed in individual departments. You can place the guide in as many places on your university web page as you like, and they don't have to just be on intranet pages, they can be on public pages as well. So obviously we encourage you to place it in as many places as possible. That will obviously boost its visibility. Now, in terms of what it should actually look like when it appears on your web page, we very much recommend including a description with the link to the guide. Obviously students don't necessarily know what the alternative guide is when they first encounter it, and so a short description is really helpful. So we've got a template description right here. This can be found in the How to Set It Up leaflet, and we've also got here obviously a picture of our mascot Jacob the Crow. It's an old adage that a picture is worth 1,000 words, but we found that when a picture tends to accompany text, it's a lot more visible and students tend to take a lot more notice of it. You can actually find all this text and this picture of Jacob the Crow and some others which you are free to use at postgraduate-funding.com/promote. One more little detail about this, and this is for customers who want to go to town and enable prospective students to automatically get access to that prospective student PIN that we talked about before without having to be given it by you, which is to put this line here on the bottom, which is if you are a prospective student who has applied to the university, please email to get an access PIN. Now of course this email address could be something that you reply to manually as staff members, but it's probably a lot easier to set up an automated email account. Now, what this automated email account could be is simply something like alternativeguide@kcl.ac.uk or alternativeguide@ox.ac.uk or whatever. And that email should automatically then email them back the PIN number, which will then enable them to sign up for the guide. This is something that will be very simple for a technical authority at your university to implement. As I say, this is really just an additional option. You don't have to implement it unless you want to, but it will probably mean that more prospective students will use the guide because they'll be able to request it automatically. Other methods of promoting the Alternative Guide to Postgraduate Funding are, I guess, very simple. A mail shoot to all your postgraduate students is always very effective. And also, perhaps, don't overlook some of the more old-fashioned strategies as well. We've included in your welcome pack some A3 posters, which obviously can be very effective when they're placed in prominent places, and also some flyers as well, which you are at liberty to photocopy and distribute to as many students as you'd like.